Hey, everybody. Carrie Schaefer here, or also possibly Carrie Ann King. I've just put Carrie up there for my name, so I can be whichever one of us that you know me as or prefer me to be today. Welcome to Tell Me Your Secrets, and I am exuberantly excited today to have Loretta Nyhan on the show with me. Hi, Loretta.
Hey.
So Loretta and I have been Facebook friendly for, I don't know, a few years now because we're both Lake Union authors, and we've had some life events that kind of had some parallels. So when her new book came out, I was very excited to invite her to come on the show and talk to us. And I should have asked you, do you happen to have a copy floating around?
I do, I think.
Awesome. Let's see that.
Yeah. Yay.
So this is, for those of you who are listening and not able to see, this is called The Other Family, and it has a really interesting sort of a cover. It's a drawing. It looks like art.
They did a fantastic job, I thought.
Yeah.
I was really happy with it because okay, I'm going to bring in my other book, but they kind of go together, right?
Right, with digging in, which I love that. The Other Family has a woman sitting in a tree, which makes sense because it has some family tree elements in it. So I loved this book for the fact that it just really gets into that definition of family. For one thing, well, there's so many layers to love, but there's the family you're born with, there's the family you choose, and there's the surprise family that you maybe encounter when you do a little DNA testing. So is your family tree fairly straightforward, or do you personally have any surprises in your family system?
Well, I did the 23andMe DNA test, fully expecting it to turn out a certain way, and there were surprises. My mother is Mexican and Italian, and it was interesting to see what the Mexican was comprised of, and it was actually mostly Native American.
Really?
So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. My dad's Irish, and that was no surprise. He's all Irish and Northern European. My husband actually, who's German, got 1% New Guinea.
Oh, really? Oh, how fun!
Right. Where did that come from? There was a Jewish relative in my background somewhere. I love that. I love that we're just made up of everybody. And I've heard so many stories. People have come to me and said, "Oh, I found this out. I found that out. Some good, some not so good." I found out I had a sister or a brother, or half sister, half brother, and things either work out or don't work out so well. And there was some of these stories, Kate, you were in my head and jumbled together with a couple other things and got the story of the other family. So.
Right. Well, and then you hear the not so good stories, like the Viking, and I laugh at these. There's the ones where these people with who've done some criminal thing,
right,
do one of those tests, and the feds are starting to use those to find people. So
they are.
We caught some bad dudes because they took the DNA test. I discovered back a few years ago when I wrote Closer Home. I was actually shocked to discover, and had so much fun with this, you can buy a DNA paternity test at Walmart.
I know. That's crazy, isn't it?
I know. I thought that was crazy. So I wrote in, a teenager who didn't know who her father was after her mother died, who was on a quest with her, aided by her mother's teenage journal, to track down all of the guys that her mother may have slept with and see who her father was. So that was very fun. The DNA thing is fascinating, but this book is really, there's a whole lot more. The deeper, darker side is you're telling a story of a family where there's a mother trying to solve her daughter's mysterious health problem that the medical community really isn't being able to be very helpful with, which is really kind of fitting for the times right now, I suppose, in a lot of ways.
Right. It's unfortunately so common. I don't know how many people in my neighborhood. Every time I turned around, it seemed like someone was struggling with some kind of autoimmune disorder, and unfortunately, a lot of children. And, it gets you thinking, what are we eating? What are we breathing? What are we putting on our bodies? And how does that affect us? How does that impact our health? And so it got me thinking, and my nephew suffers from severe nut allergies, and he's anaphylactic and has to carry an EpiPen around with him. And just to see his journey, and he started the process that Kylie starts in the book, the desensitization process. And just to see what a kid has to go through, what a parent has to go through, when your child is sick, it's worse than being sick yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and you'll do anything, So I really wanted to explore that because I saw so many people that in my life going through it, and to me they were heroes, and their story deserved to be told.
Right. I agree. It is such a hi, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
It's such a difficult thing. I was fortunate in that my youngest son had some allergies. It was food dye allergies when he was young.
Right. Yeah, that's common too.
We got the hint that there was this thing, and to kind of do a food elimination and then bring the things back in. And fortunately, health-wise, it didn't really affect him, but behavior-wise, he was 4, and we took the things away from him, and then we gave him something with a lot of red food dye in, and within like 5 minutes, he was stamping on his father's feet and shouting and screaming and throwing this huge tantrum. And he's not, normally was not like that at all. So it's fascinating what just those things can do, and what they're in everything. We discovered there's food dye in your bread. It's like, really? Why?
You have to become such a label reader and just so hyper aware of your surroundings when your child has an allergy like that. Absolutely.
Right. Chemicals everywhere. So the mom in this story is just, I love the mama bear side of her, and all of the other sides of her as well. So you did a beautiful job of getting the book out. We have actually a question from Michelle. She was wondering about the idea that lots of times with a disease like that, there's this idea that there's nothing really wrong with the child. Like you're getting this concept from medical people and friends and relatives that maybe you're overreacting and there's really nothing wrong. Did you deal with that in this story as well?
A little bit. They're kind of a little bit beyond that, in that they finally find a doctor who is unusual, but willing to work with them. But in speaking with people doing the research for this book, I heard that story over and over and over again. I had to go to this doctor, that doctor, because if the doctor can't figure it out, well, it has to be in your head, right? And I think that's so frustrating for people who suffer from autoimmune.
Sure.
Because, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're not being taken seriously when your health is at stake.
Right. Yeah. Speaking from, inside the profession, I've worked off and on as a nurse in several different places. And I know, I think what it is everybody's trained that medicine is a science, and that we always kind of know what to do, and we're supposed to always know what to do. And so when they don't know what to do, they don't want to admit that they don't know what to do. So it can't be their problem. It has to be your problem. Right. So if I don't know what it is, then you must be making it up is much easier than, oh my God, we're failing you.
Right. No idea. Sorry.
Most people don't want to look at it at all.
Right.
So I'm thinking it must be really weird having this book come out during this particular time, with Corona going on, plus which it was a first reads, which is a whole nother adventure. I know. So for those of you not familiar, if your book comes out first reads on Amazon, the book is actually out only for Amazon Prime members a whole month before it's actually out. So it's like you have this extended book release where it's kind of out, but it's not really out. And then it's out again, and you're releasing forever. And then you add on top of that, well, Corona, COVID, stay home stuff. So how are you coping with all of that? How do you think it's changed your launch pattern?
I think it changed a lot. I think that, well, to be honest, it impacted sales, I think, especially the first month that people were kind of dealing with this and coming to terms with it and accepting it. I think our brains were so scattered, and we were almost in some kind of a shock that most people that I spoke to weren't able to read. They weren't able to find that calm inside yourself that you need to kind of sit down and read a book. So I think it's starting to come back. I think people have kind of accepted, okay, this is our reality for now.
Right.
I'm going to try to do some productive things while I'm at home, or I need some escapism. And so I think it's changing a little bit now. But I think at first people they were in line getting toilet paper or beans and rice. They weren't interested in shopping for novels.
Right.
Also, the majority of our sales are digital. So so it's not as big of a deal not to have the books in the bookshops. I feel terrible for the bookshops, the independent bookshops in my neighborhood. There are a couple, they're doing curbside service. They're trying so hard. But they've had to cancel everything. Author events that bring in money for them and give the author a boost. All that's gone. All those experiences and the opportunities for an author to meet readers in person, those are gone. So I think you kind of allow yourself a moment of sadness and say, okay, this is not the launch that I had envisioned, but we're going to do what we can. And people like you, doing things online and giving us opportunities to connect with readers online, that's been wonderful. And I've noticed, everybody's kind of trying to do that and trying to boost each other. The whole idea that the rising tide lifts all boats is so true, especially in women's fiction.
Yeah. There's a lot of online stuff happening right now. I've noticed. I mean, everybody's online. Well, not everybody, but even all the celebrities are doing stuff online just because they're home and they're bored, and it's cool. It's fun. It's interesting. I know I hear you about reading less, and I think some people were, and then there's some of us like me. I started reading like all day almost. It's my escape, but I didn't want to read things that I was reading what I already had instead of buying. So it was an interesting thing because it was like, okay, I'm going to start reading through all of this stack of books that I have. Or I started doing some rereading books that I knew that I loved that I'd read in the past. Actually, I did a fair bit of that. I just finished reading The Lord of the Rings again. I hadn't read that.
Wow. So did you find that was a comfort read for you?
The Lord of the Rings really is for me, yeah, because it's like, I love fantasy for that reason, actually. Fantasy takes you into this dark place, but it's over here.
Right.
It's not like, I'm not going to read any plague books or any, post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, no, me either.
At all. I don't like that at the best of times, especially not right now. But fantasy takes it and puts it over here.
Okay.
And you have these people that are in these very, very difficult situations and being very brave, but it's not my situation and I would never be there. Remove that from reality. And there's these, especially in The Lord of the Rings, there's these really awesome moments where Gandalf thinks, Frodo says something like, I wish it had not happened in my time. And Gandalf says, all who are born in these times wish that it had not happened in their time, but we must just do the best we can with the tools that we're given to work with. And so things like that, I find very comforting, actually.
Yeah. I like that.
So, but then, I like fantasy. That's an interesting thing. I think it was very interesting. Michelle made a comment that she's actually reading more on Kindle right now. It's not a thing that she had been reading, using, and she's borrowing her daughter's Kindle so that she can do the online reading. I'm very grateful, and I'm sure you are too, right now, to be a Lake Union author because most of our marketing is on Kindle rather than that. Rather than the paper books, which Amazon's not even delivering paper books right now.
Right. The whole landscape has changed. I mean, people can't go to libraries either. Some of the libraries are doing digital borrowing, but I don't know how many are.
Right.
Yeah, everything's different now. I'm trying our best. Yeah.
Well, and there's good stuff in every day, I know. And that's kind of what I'm focused on because here we are, right? We get to talk. And that's fun. We got some people hanging out with us, and that's fun. So all of the good things I can find. was talking to Loretta earlier about, things that she does in addition to writing. And I know, first off, I know you're a mom, so you have like teenage people.
Yeah, I have a 17 and a 20-year-old, 17 and 20-year-old sons. And then I have two stepdaughters, 11 and 14.
Wow.
So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And they're all home now.
And we're trying to, we're sharing a house, and it's been going pretty well so far.
Right.
I knock wood. I should find some wood to knock.
Not killing anybody yet. We the Viking and I have a scanner, and we like to listen to that. So very close to the beginning of the stay-at-home orders, we actually the sheriff was called out because there was a fight, domestic violence situation that went on. Somebody had used all the internet bandwidth. Like, I can totally see.
Yeah, numbers are right there, right on the edge.
So, are you able to get any writing done with all of these people home?
No. I'm trying. Yeah, today I kind of gave myself a stern talking to. I was like, all right, enough. Like, you need to find a way to put your head in the game. So I'm definitely trying with that. I'm on deadline, so I have that looming over my head. So that kind of helps a little bit.
Right.
So yeah, I've the past couple days, I've characters have started talking to me. I started thinking more about plot. I'm kind of easing back in. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
Are you at the point where you're able to tell us anything about the next book? Because it's still that kind of have to keep it to yourself stage.
Maybe kind of both. But I can tell you it's about a woman who just feels like a failure because she has a failed business and she's suffering financially, and she decides to reinvent herself. And part of that is she's made a connection with a professor who believed in her at some point, and she decides to become a surrogate for him and his husband.
Oh,
so dun, dun, dun. Yeah,
yeah,
see what happens.
How fun! I love this premise. I think this sounds like a lot of fun. So wow, so many ways to play with characters in that one.
Yeah,
and,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, I love those growth arcs. That's my favorite about women's fiction genre, is that we get to write about people who are reinventing, rediscovering, finding a new way in the world.
Absolutely, and for women our age especially, I like in my books. I mean, I guess primarily I'd like to entertain, but also I want women to feel like after they've read it that they could. But there's no limit, it's not like you reach a certain age and you're done growing. You're done learning about yourself. You're done seeking new paths. You can through your entire life. And Absolutely. And when I started with Lake Union, the editor there said that she had bought my book because she said they were middle-aged coming-of-age novels. And that's my favorite description, middle-aged coming of age. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I think that's what I write too. Thing I love. That's one of my favorite stories about my mom. At the time my mother died, she was in her 80s. She had just entered. She was an artist and always striving to be better. She had entered her work in the community art show, and she asked for it to be juried. And her point in doing that was not because she wanted to win a prize, but because she wanted the feedback.
Really?
So she could be a better artist.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So any age, right? And
absolutely.
I love that about her. And you've reinvented yourself, because one of the things we were talking about is you used to teach.
Yeah. I was a teacher for 20 years. Which was awesome for the most part. I love teaching, and I would go back to teaching if it was the right circumstance. But I decided that I needed to focus my attention entirely on writing, and I was luckily able to do that. But even in my writing career, there's constant reinvention. I started off writing young adult literature, and then switched over to historical fiction, and then now I write women's fiction. I think we're always evolving and growing. I think that's true for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. So are there other, do you see yourself maybe venturing off into another genre again at some point, or?
I would love to write write a thriller. I'd love to write romantic suspense. Those I'm kind of I like reading those, so I would love to write one. Can I do it? I don't know, but I'd like to try.
Right.
And I'd like to write historical fiction again. I love writing historical fiction because I love research.
Fiction. Now, do you have any published historical fiction you can tell us about?
Yeah, I do. Oh, I have one right here. I can show you. Oh, no, I don't. I lied. Oh, wait, no, I do. This one, Homefront Girls, came out last September.
Oh, I love that cover.
And it's actually a re-release of a book that I had. It was my first book that was published was historical fiction. It was called I'll Be Seeing You in 2013. And I wrote it with another woman, a writer. And we'd met online in 2011. And we both had books on submission with publishers. And, you could get really nervous, waiting, and you could wait a long time. So she said, you know what, let's write to each other. I'm going to send you something. If you like it, send me something back. And so she sent me a letter written by a woman on the home front during World War II to another woman through a 4-H program that had connected women whose husbands were serving overseas. And she wrote in character, and it was like, my character just showed up and said, okay, but we're in. And I wrote back to her in character, and we wrote letters to each other back and forth in character. And then about 10 letters in, we showed our agent and our agents, and they said, keep going. So we did. Wow. And we wrote from Valentine's Day to the 4th of July, 2011. Did a couple, spiffed it up a little bit, and then it sold Labor Day weekend. It sold 2 weeks after submission. It was crazy.
Wow.
And so,
yeah, awesome.
It was the best. It was an incredible creative experience.
That's very fun. I think about, the collaboration thing. I tried it once with a friend, and we actually bailed before we ruined the friendship.
Well, the second book we wrote was a lot harder to write together.
Yeah, my friend Heather Webb and Hazel Gaynor, they did one together that's kind of a similar format. It had a lot of letters. It was Last Christmas in Paris. And so that's how they did it. One of them wrote letters from the one point of view, and the other wrote the letters from the other point of view, and they, sent them back and forth, which that's a great book, by the way. Those of you who are listening, if you love historical fiction, Last Christmas in Paris is not just about, it's not really a Christmas book, but it's a really, I loved it. I don't usually read historical fiction, honestly, but I did enjoy that one very much. That's a weird thing about me. I don't know why. I'm not sure why I don't get into it, but I don't know. That's thinking for another time. So I'll just let that one go for now. I know why I don't like to write it, because I feel I like to make stuff up. I really like to make stuff up, and I don't like being caught in, facts and reality any more than necessary while I'm doing that. So, I feel like that becomes background. That becomes part of you as a writer. I don't ever feel confined by it or constricted by it. I think it's almost a safety net, because once you have done all the historical research and you know where your character would live, what color lipstick she would have on, what she would eat for breakfast, what was going on in her world at the time, locally and globally, it's like the character. It helps the character, the formation of the character. It makes it almost easier, I think, to write. Yeah. You like doing research? Yes. You like doing research?
Pardon?
You like doing research?
I love doing research.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Not much for here.
I could just fall into it, immerse myself, come up for air a month later. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things.
And that's why we're all different and write different books, which is like a really good thing, or we'd all be writing the same thing, right?
Right.
And that would be no fun at all.
Right.
So let me see, what else was there? Do you have any pets? Readers like to know those kind of things. Do you have animals running around the house with you too, or just human animals?
No, just the humankind. No, my son's actually allergic to dogs. this is way too much to get into, but I just got married January 1st, 2019. And my husband, we have separate school districts, so we live in separate houses right now.
Oh, wow.
Eventually we'll combine, but
Yeah.
he has 2 cats. And I was never a cat person, and now I love them. So so we'll see what happens when the houses become one.
That's an interesting thing. The Viking and I did that. We began as separate households and we merged. It's an interesting process.
Yeah, it is. Already it is. Yeah. We'll come out okay. But
life is short. Oh yeah, it all come out okay. You will discover having cats living in the house with you when you're trying to write makes things very complicated. They are on the keyboard and in your lap, and
I'm sure.
All those kinds of things. So I don't know. Are you reading anything right now, or what's the most recent book that you can remember that you read?
I'm trying to think. I'm one of those people who hasn't been able to read. I have been able to read some nonfiction. I've been reading a lot. I like to read self-help books and books about how to stay healthy and well. And
okay, so what self-help book are you reading right now?
What am I reading? Oh, I'm reading actually a creativity book that I've never read that it seems like everyone else has read. It's called The Artist's Way.
Julia Cameron.
Yes. I just started reading that and I really like it. And I thought that there might be a chance that it would spark something in me and I would be able to write better, so I started reading that 2 days ago and I'm enjoying that a lot.
Awesome. That's great. I have a copy. One of my sons actually gave it to me for Christmas, and I haven't read it yet. But I did. A lot of people don't know. Julia Cameron also wrote a book just for writers, which is called The Right to Write.
Oh, really?
Which I had read a long time ago before I got serious about writing, and I found very helpful and was one of the things that actually got me to where I am.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, she's wonderful. I love her. So
yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah,
I keep meaning to do The Artist's Way and just too busy
writing. But I said, I'm just going to do it, and so I started reading that. I also started I started some fiction. My Dark Vanessa, and I don't know who. I'm embarrassed. I don't know who the author is, but I just started that, and that's kind of like a suspense. Domestic suspense kind of novel, and I just started that. So
awesome. Well, I think that we are all. I was very distracted one day, and I was complaining about it. It's like I am so unproductive. I'm not getting anything. And the Viking just looks at me, and goes, there's kind of a lot going on out there right now.
Just a little, right?
which is the point where I go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be the mental health professional, and I had a little moment, and then I actually wrote a long thing about communal grieving in the time of COVID, which is really what we're all doing. It's grief.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. And when you look at it that way, it's expected that there's going to be some trouble focusing, and your moods are going to be everywhere, and it's going to be a little scattered, and
and there are going to be stages, and you're going to jump around between the stages. Yeah, absolutely. We're grieving the life we all lost.
Right. And restaurants.
Oh, I know.
We don't go out much. It's funny because we are stay-at-home people. And so for us, the immediate impacts are fairly mild. I'm so incredibly blessed and so grateful for the life that I have. But what we are really starting to miss is that just going out to eat thing.
The absolute freedom of it. Completely took it for granted.
And that is the freedom to walk out the house without a mask and wipes and maybe gloves and the hand sanitizer and it's like
the mental stress, right? There's so much stress involved. And did I touch something? Did I touch my face? The constant worry that's just scrolling through our heads, and how that's just messing with interpersonal relations and your own mental health and your stress levels, and this is so multi-layered.
Right. So I think, being understanding of ourselves right now and other people, cutting everybody a little slack, including yourself. I'm really appreciating that. And then I'm into I'm really into tapping, emotional freedom technique
Oh
tapping.
yeah, sure, I've done that.
So helpful for bringing down that anxiety, meditation, a little yoga.
Oh, I have to do yoga.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need that. And the tapping helps with sleep, I find.
it does.
It gives you a very restful sleep where I'm not waking up at 2 in the morning, like, right.
I still wake up in the morning. I don't know. It's a thing. But I started my 3 o'clock wake up time. I have decided is now it's my gratitude practice. So when I'm awake at 3, I'm training myself that when I'm awake at 3, I run through my gratitude list. It's really awesome. It
Oh,
usually
that's
puts me back
great.
to sleep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Positive. Instead of
It
starting
helps.
the worry list,
Right. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
not the worry list.
that's good.
So thank you all for being here today. Michelle's saying real quick, she has never heard of tapping. Emotional freedom technique, it's a system of using pressure points really that are the same as used by acupuncture, meridian tapping, but you just tap with your fingers, and it's very easy to do. I highly recommend the tapping solution as a place to go and look at stuff. They're really awesome. They have an app where there's free tapping. It really helps with anxiety and other emotions as well, just to bring it down and shift towards more positive. So, and Loretta's book, by the way, does kind of get into some alternative
It does.
healing techniques as well, which is another reason why I loved it. I love that
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So, Loretta, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me at lorettanyhan.com. I'm
LorettaNyhan.com. So, and if you're listening to that's Loretta, Loretta, Nyhan, Nyhan.com.
And I'm on Twitter too.
On Facebook and on Twitter, are you Loretta Nyhan on
I'm
Twitter?
Loretta Nyhan everywhere because there aren't any other ones. So.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm on Instagram, Loretta Nyhan. Yeah, you can find me anywhere. Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. And before we sign off, I just also want to remind you, go look up the book. It is called The Other Family by Loretta Nyhan. Also, if you're interested in maybe scoring an arc of my upcoming novel, which is A Borrowed Life, I am sending out a whole bunch of those right now, and I will be giving away a couple more to my Inner Circle newsletter list. So if you're not on my list, just go to carryschaefer.com, and it's very clear where to sign up. That's Carrie Schaefer, Kerry. Oh, no, not carryschaefer.com. That's the other me. I got confused for a minute. Carrie Ann King, carryanne.com, KerryAnne.com, and sign up for the Inner Circle. I do a giveaway of something every week. And this week, for example, I'm giving away a Kindle copy of Loretta's book. So you could still maybe get in on that or in whatever's going on next week. And one of you is getting a book today as well. And that is going to be Michelle. Michelle, go ahead and message me and I will get a Kindle copy out to you. So thanks again for being here. Thank you.
It's so much fun.
Everybody have a great week. Stay safe out there.
Yeah,
be kind to you. Read a good book. And I will be back again, same time, same place next week with another guest. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.